what's the natural progression towards that? Obviously, you said it's an 8-year build. Did it start simply with a marathon? Did it start simply with, an ultra? Did you just go, do you know what, I'm going to pick a heavy ultra race, I'm going to do this race? Or was it just a simple case of that's the plan and that's what I'm going for?
So the first race I did was the Likey 6623 in the Yukon, the Northwest Territories in Canada. And I kind of just emailed the organizer, Martin Like, out of curiosity and told him a bit about my background. And he actually said, "You're perfect for this race." He said, like, the people who fail at this race are the people who come from like the ultramarathon backgrounds. He said, like, because they don't, like, someone who does like a marathon, a 50 miler, 100 miler, like they might have a crew, and they have like, and they can, if they drop out of the race, they can get picked up pretty quickly. Like, they're not really in an environment where they have to really rely too much on themselves. So, like, I had obviously the experience from diving, but I'd also a lot of backcountry travel through snowboarding. So I'd been to Alaska before. Like, I was flown by bush plane out onto a glacier with a friend of mine, and we camped for a month and splitboard. We were splitboard mountaineering on peaks out there. So I had a lot of experience, like, sort of beforehand. So your mom was like, I'll let you straight into this race. And so that was like I've never actually done a marathon. So actually, I'm kind of coming down in distance, I've found over the years.
Oh
But
man, say that distance again. Your first? Did you say 663?
so 6623 is the name of because that's where the race starts. That's the latitude, which is the Arctic Circle. So the race is 350 miles. So that was my first race. So yeah, like 570 odd K or something like that, or 550K.
I'm just doing the maths at 550 divided by 42 for the shits and giggles of I can't do it that fast for an answer. Yeah. That is ridiculous. That's like, what, 13, 14 marathons? That's for your first.
Yeah.
How did the body hold up?
Not very well. Yeah. I mean, it was brutal. Like, I was in bits. I was crying halfway through. I was like, yeah. I mean, it was an amazing experience to finish it. But I learned a lot. But yeah, it was my first time, and I hadn't really, like, I spent time in the backcountry, snowboarding and stuff like that. I'd never pushed myself that hard, because I think I was 8.5 days. I was one of the last finishers. But I was just trying to get it done. I wasn't really racing it. I was just trying to finish it, and like not a lot of people finish that race. It's a tough race. It finishes on the banks of the Arctic, so it goes from Eagle Plains, which is just shy of the Arctic Circle, all the way up to Tuktoyaktuk, which is an Inuit village right on the Arctic Ocean. So it was, I mean, like, amazing place to visit, like, outside of doing a race, So, to go there is just like, it was amazing,
What was the trend? Like,
Sean thinks he's great going to the far road there on his holidays.
Yeah, when you talk with guys that ultramarathons that struggle doing 50, 100 mile, whatever, this is him. Like, I got carried through my first 100 mile recently, and like, without my crew, not a hope. Knee was in bits, couldn't run for a month afterwards, and you're doing like 6 times the amount, and then you're also 28 days in these pods and stuff and obviously you're not getting training and stuff down there at the time either, like, as in, like, on the body and stuff. So like you, like, do you have to go more all in, more intense training, or you like recovery? Yeah. How's that work?
So for me, all my stuff, all my expeditions, all my races, I've operated on a because I get time off work, so I'll work, say, and then take a whole summer off or a whole winter off, and I do like a sort of 6-month build. Not like that'll be the most I do. I probably do it off 3 to 4 months, and I just do super intense. Like, I get people contacting me saying, "Oh, I want to roll the Atlantic in like 2028. Like, what sort of training plan do you think I should do?" And I'm just like, man, I can't barely think. You know what I mean? 6 months down the line. So yeah, the idea of training for something for, like, a very long period, like 18 months, just, I can't. Yeah, I wouldn't. I kind of like a concentrated effort where it's like every moment is geared towards, training towards that, like, and obviously my job allows me to do that because I work, on and off. Like I'm not, I don't have any distractions then when I'm off. I can be fully focused on that next thing, So that whole thing, that whole lifestyle and kind of approach has worked for me on multiple occasions,
I can see more now why when you've only got a select period of time because you're working 6 months, that you're like, right, you kind of have to be, I'm assuming, like very selective in challenge, because like I mentioned in the intro, you rode across the Atlantic, but that's not even doing it justice. Like you rode the Talisker Whisky Atlantic Challenge, which is seemingly the world's toughest rowing challenge to do. Like you didn't just row across the Atlantic. You literally picked the hardest one and went and did that. Like and you did it over Christmas as well. Like you went from like December 14th to February 2nd. Yeah. Rowing up to 19 hours a day, 5,000 kilometers in total, 49 days. But once again, no question, just bananas. What was that like?
Yeah, a really unique experience. I was 50 days, well, just under 50, 49 and something hours. I can't remember now. I should remember, but just under 50 days, completely on my own. In a boat going across the Atlantic. Yeah, that was a phenomenal experience. It's definitely the I suppose the marquee challenge, in terms of what I've done, but it took a lot of organizing. There's a lot of gear, obviously a boat, a lot of money, a lot of kit. Yeah, that was a bigger process. Now I did take a year off work for that, to train for that and to go for that. That was a big build for that one, So that was that was after that Likey's race. So basically I did the Likey's race in 2015, and then I was actually kind of a little bit kind of emotionally scarred after that race. And then it was like after that my mindset was like, Jesus, if I can do that, I can kind of do anything. And then the row idea came to me, and I kind of had signed up before I even had thought it through, so that was just, I suppose, like a byproduct of like when you do something, that you kind of complete that you think that you can't do.
Yeah.
Then you kind of, you get the confidence. And then I was, signed up for the row before I knew it. So,
tell me this is not like the trail race and you had at least, I don't know, rowed across a river or something before you took this up for the first time and went 5,000, I'm going all in.
Well, technically it was my first rowing race. So I've been in one rowing race. Yeah. But no, I did a ton of training. I got the boat, I had it in Galway, and I was training around the West Coast, and I did a lot of good prep, so I was very prepared for that. And I had a rowing machine in the living room where I was staying at the time, and I was rowing non-stop on there, and really prepared for that.
When you do something like that, like you pretty much have the world's toughest row ticked off across the Atlantic anyway. I don't know if there's any worse. Do you kind of just go rowing in a box, that's done, what's the next thing? Or is that something you go, I actually go back to that. Maybe there's a different rowing challenge somewhere else around the world.
Yeah, like I actually wanted to row back from New York to Ireland. I actually shipped the boat from Antigua in the Caribbean up to New York, and I had planned to row back. I mean, this, like when we all finished the row, there was like 15 boats. Everybody got interviewed. Would you do that again? Would you do that again? Like everybody else said no. And I was like, yeah, I'm actually going to row back in like 3 months. I'm shipping the boat. I decided this on my way over because I was happy as a pig and shit out there. But I actually had a stress fracture in my back, so I couldn't do it. And then, it's quite complicated, the North Atlantic. It would have been a bit kind of brash for me to just try and do it. It's very hard to do as a solo. It's quite complicated. But anyways, I had a stress fracture on my back from the row. I ended up cancelling it. And then a couple of months later, some lads approached me about the boat because it was in New York and they wanted to buy it. And like there was no boats on the market, and they offered me great mony for it. So I kind of was like, the time has moved on here. So look, I would consider rowing again. But it's a lot of organizing, a lot of money and stuff. I mean, just, shipping the boat from Ireland down to La Gomera in the Canaries, and then you have to get it shipped back from bloody Antigua. Like, it's crazy,
I can see why you wanted to row it back, save a fortune.
Like connecting flight makes it cheaper somehow.
You make it sound
Yeah.
like you just went to Super Value for eggs. Ah, sure, I'll just go back now.